The following program is a paid presentation from the California Elder Law Center. The information and opinions expressed herein are solely those of the California Elder Law Center and are not the opinions of K-News, Alpha Media, management, or employees.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elder Answers. This is the show where we get together every week and we discuss the major issues facing seniors in the United States today. Hi, everybody. This is Michael McGuire, elder law attorney with the California Elder Law Center, where for over 25 years, we have been taking care of seniors. We have been taking care of those who are attempting to take care of seniors. In other words, we have had a focus that originally started off with estate planning, answering the question, a very important question, a question each and every one of us really want to have an answer to. And that question is, what happens when I die? What happens when I pass away? What is the legacy I'm going to leave behind? How am I going to protect my family? Because they may or may not need to be protected, but if they do need to be protected, why would that be? Well, perhaps somebody in the family is on public benefits, and it's really important that we have the ability to make sure if they are going to get some kind of a legacy, whether that's a child or a grandchild, that money does not interfere with and cause them to become disqualified for the precious public benefit health care that they are receiving. This may be something that stays with that particular person for the rest of their life. And it merits us being careful about how we approach that and being very, very sensitive to the issue about how that has to be done and be protected. We may be trying to protect an individual who is not, shall we say, good with money. Or they may be married to somebody who is really bad with money. And you can do that. You can do that with effective estate planning. And you want to make sure that you're not subjecting your family to the process known as probate if it's not necessary. Probate is nothing more than a court that is charged with reviewing cases in which a person has passed away, among other things, and there is no will to determine where the assets of that decedent are supposed to go. Or if there is a will, then it's necessary to validate that will through a legal procedure. Now, in going through a probate, you're going to find that there's a very long, tedious process that requires a lot of different issues to be resolved at the court itself with filings. And as a result, the person who is the personal representative or the executor of the estate is entitled to statutory fees. Now, those fees can be quite expensive, actually, when you start to add them up, but the person who is going to be the executor is going to be required to do a lot of work. It's very, very common here in California that the executor would hire an attorney, and now the executor will be getting fees, statutory fees, and the attorney would require statutory fees to do all the legwork, follow the paper, and make sure everything gets done properly. A $400,000 house, I'm not talking about equity now, I'm just talking about market value, a $400,000 house could cost as much as $12,000, $13,000 in fees. And of course, it'd be the same $12,000 or $13,000 of fees for the executive personal representative. And so you can see it's a long, tedious process. Most families would opt not to subject their children to that, or whomever their estate is going to, if that is something that is of concern to them. It can take you a long time, longer today maybe than ever before, to go through the probate process at the court. You're talking about now a court system that, of course, it is controlled to cope with COVID-19. And as a direct result, things that used to take a long time take a excruciatingly long time to get taken care of now in the court system in California. And so when you add up things like expense, to make sure that you don't subject yourself to any taxes unnecessarily, or that if there are any taxes, they're taken care of appropriately, to make sure that the money goes where you want it to go, when you want it to go there, to perhaps protect somebody that's on benefits or a child or a grandchild and make sure that money, when they're ready to go away to college, is sitting there waiting for them. So you can do all those kinds of things with an effective estate plan. Now, the vast majority of middle-class Americans have opted to create what's called a revocable trust. A revocable trust. A revocable trust is a device that allows you to create an estate plan to transfer assets into title to the trust. In other words, it was husband and wife as joint tenants. When the first spouse passed away, the surviving spouse owns the property lock, stock, and barrel. If there's never been a change to that level of title, then what ends up happening is you hit a wall and you have to go to probate. If, on the other hand, you have created a trust, then you would have changed the title to that property as husband and wife as joint tenants, perhaps, to husband and wife as co-trustees of the husband and wife trust. And by figuratively putting it inside this box, this legal box called a trust, there's no need or requirement to go to court. That's right. You can skip right by that. You can have provisions built into that document that address a lot of issues that are very, very important to a middle-class family, typically. Issues that can be resolved intelligently and effectively. And so in California, it has become very popular to use a trust, a living trust, a revocable trust, a family trust. You can call it anything you want, really. But the idea is because it's revocable, that means you can change it anytime you want. You can take stuff out, you can put stuff in. You can address issues as they change in the family, if that's necessary. You can cope with divorce, you can cope with a terrible medical issue, emergency has struck somebody in the family. You want to make sure you divert assets to protect that individual, but not to interfere with their medical benefits. You may have a child who is challenged, and you want to make sure that that child or grandchild money is set aside for them for the rest of their life. It'll be available to them to make their way a little easier in this world. And so the idea of creating an estate plan starts off with the idea of a trust being the main engine. Think of a train. The engine is the trust. No longer is it the will. Now it's the trust. And what does the will say? The will says that in the event that I pass away and I am the surviving spouse, take everything and put it into the trust, because that's where the plan is. That's where the protection is. One caveat there is it does not alleviate you depending upon what they call a pour over will. In other words, whatever assets the will controls will pour over to the trust. That process will still lead you down the path of having to go through probate to get those assets into that trust. True story, many years ago, maybe over 20 years ago, a guy in Texas died with a winning lottery ticket in his pocket, $3 million. It's a true story. The guy died. What do we do with the ticket? It's not in his name. You don't buy a lottery ticket in your name. It's not registered to you. Well, somebody found him and the ticket, and as a result, they had to go to probate court. They used the will, and the will said take it and put it in the trust, because that's where he had put together the plan to protect his family. So the $3 million migrated through the probate court and had to pay all the expenses, absorb all the delays, and finally got into the trust. And one of the very first things the trustee has to do, of course, is pay all the taxes. You just don't get $3 million in a lottery ticket and not pay taxes. And so that all had to be done. You had to get in control of that situation. Very expensive, very tedious, but it worked. It worked. If you would like to have a situation in which you protect your family from that kind of a disaster, then you will opt to use the trust. Now, just because you got a trust doesn't mean you've got the trust or a trust that is going to accommodate all the different permeations of events, life, things that can happen, laws can change, rules can change, and most importantly, you can change. Your spouse can change. Time will dictate a lot of those changes. And you want to have a document that is sophisticated and understands all these different issues, because it's going to lead you into different areas. It leads you into different areas that a will could, of course, never accommodate, because a will only deals and only comes to life on the day you pass away. It's too late to do much for your family then, isn't it? And so what ends up happening is that the trust becomes a living document that permits you and your spouse to sit down and answer a different question. That question is not what happens when I die. That question is, what happens if I live? What happens if I live? What if I live to be 90? What if I live to be 95? What if I need help? What if I am subject to a medical emergency that takes me down a path? For instance, maybe I fell and I broke my hip. Maybe things didn't work out exactly like I had hoped. Maybe I ended up with a stroke, for instance. Maybe I ended up in a position where I need to be and use a nursing home for an extended period of time, or maybe permanently. Then I'm confronted with the horrible news that the average cost to be in a nursing home for 1 month in the state of California is $10,298 per month, due on the first, just like rent. What would that do to my spouse? Do we have that kind of money, over $123,000, $26,000 a year? Do we have those kind of resources to cope with the cost of long-term care that we never really thought about, we never really addressed? Or let me put it this way, we put it in the back of our mind as something we would really not like to think about, at least not for today. I'll leave that one for tomorrow. I'll pull a Scarlett O'Hara. Tomorrow's another day. I'll think about it then. That can have really bad consequences for a middle-class family, being unprepared, not having addressed the issue. And now we're left with the best we can do is, hopefully there's a way to do something. Maybe it's not too late. Those are all bad alternatives for a middle-class family facing those kinds of issues.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire, and you're listening to Elder Answers, the show where we get together every week and we discuss these issues. These issues are really universal. If you want to know the truth, there's really nothing here that doesn't apply to every single one of us, that's for sure. And so as a direct result of this, we have to be realistic about what's going on in our lives. We have to be realistic about what's really happening and what we can do to protect ourselves and our families. And the reason that that's so important is because there's an inevitability to the work of the elder law attorney. You see, the estate planning attorney, everything that that attorney does for you brings years of experience, a background of having dealt with many different kinds of issues that impact a family. going through that entire process ends up being all brought to bear for your benefit, even though you may feel there's nothing unusual or unique about your family. Many times you discover there are issues that you didn't know there were issues. That's the value of talking to somebody that's trained in this field, that knows how estate planning goes to A, make sure you avoid probate, B, protect your family, and C, make sure you don't pay any taxes that you don't have to pay. New tax rules here in California have descended upon us, and it becomes very important that those rules be shared with you so you can be effective in protecting yourself and your family. But most importantly, it's to raise issues for you that makes you informed, that takes you to a position of you're the one in power in this conversation because now you have the information. That's what the California Elder Law Center has always used as a mantra, to come to the people of Southern California, but we have cases up and down the state, believe me, but to come to the people of Southern California and to be able to say to you, we are going to give you information. Free information that you perhaps didn't know that you needed or wanted. But once you have that information, you become the one who can be the captain of your ship, the captain of your destiny, that you can protect your family, you can protect your spouse from all sorts of storms. And the reason you can do that is because you have information. You know, if you spend your time regretting and wishing that you had done this and wishing that you had done that, you are going to be living in the land of regrets. That's the past. If you're full of those regrets, you should shed them now. If, on the other hand, you are an individual who spends a lot of time feeling energy drain away from you because you are worried about what could happen going down the road, that there's something up ahead coming your way that you either don't know about or you're afraid of, you are suffering from anxiety. Anxiety is the ultimate emotional and intellectual vampire that we all face. Every one of us face it. And you have to reject that line of thinking because it has not happened. You are spending time focusing on something that has not happened. In other words, you still can control, but you can only control your fate if you stay in today, the now, the present. And that requires action. You must take some kind of action to protect you and your family. It's not going to happen intuitively. It's not going to happen because solutions just grow like grass or trees. No, you have to actually do something. First, you get information and you educate yourself. And after that, you move forward, and what do? Then you are in a position to really create some kind of a plan and shed the anxiety and now move forward. Because when you're talking to an elder law attorney, you're looking for options on aging. That's what you're looking for. How do I move into this aging phase and protect myself, my loved ones, my family? Protect them from expense, protect them from the inevitability of being destroyed financially, protect them from being cast in the role of being a burden on them because I didn't take care of business today. And so you have choices here. You know, the basic tenet that comes down through the ages is that it's a fate that affects every single one of us, doesn't it? We will grow old. We will become ill. And we will pass away. We can't escape that process. But what we can do is confront that process so that it is not needlessly terrifying and that it is not draining of us of our resources. In other words, we can actually get the quality of care that we need and deserve and not go broke doing it. But it does require us to step up to the plate, so that we can protect ourselves, we can protect our spouse, we can protect our family, and we can put some action into a plan that allows us to live with comfort, not fear and dread. Now, this may all sound somewhat dramatic to you, but you must be honest with yourself. Is it really your plan to live forever? Is it your plan never to become ill? Now, I don't know how we deal with the individuals who cannot cope, except come to you week in and week out and give you information that can help you shed anxiety and move into the mode of action. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call 760-422-0404. 422-0404. And from that point forward, you will be entitled to the unique opportunity to fill out a questionnaire, submit it, and then we will arrange for you to have a consultation to address these issues. To answer a question that is different than what the estate planning attorney was able to do, which was to answer the question of what happens when I die, where does my stuff go? Now you can answer a different question with confidence, and that question is, what happens if I live? What happens if I live? How am I going to pay for my care? And who is going to take care of me? Maybe the most important question and answer that will confront all of us once we enter into that age group of 65 plus. Because here's what we know. This is a hard and cold fact. 7 out of 10, 70% of us are going to need some kind of long-term care during the course of our lives. Now, are we naive enough to think we can go to a non-attorney of all things and have any of that kind of an issue addressed? Is there any delusion that anybody listening to this show right now thinks just by going cheap it'll work anyway? And the answer to that is that no, it will not. You've gone to an expert perhaps to deal with the issue of estate planning, what happens when I die, but did you ever talk about these long-term care issues? Did you talk about the cost of care? Did you talk about who's going to be charged with the duty and the ability to take care of these issues, make decisions for you, find resources, pull together all the public benefits, do what's necessary to qualify and become eligible? And if you didn't have those kind of questions, then you can bet whatever you did in the way of an estate plan does not include those kinds of powers or address those kinds of issues. That's common sense. And so you need to talk to somebody who is a member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, somebody who does this for a living. And in all honesty, it's a small cadre of attorneys now. 20 years from now, it'll be much, much larger. Why? Because this issue grows every day. First of all, we know 65 and age on up, 65 years of age on up, 70%, 7 out of 10, are going to need some kind of long-term care during their lives. Here's what else we know is every day 10,000 people turn 65 years of age in the United States, and that trend will continue for the next 10 years. 36, 37 million more seniors are on their way. What exactly are we as a nation, as a society, going to do to take care of them, to help them, to deal with these issues? Well, I will tell you, we've done nothing. Now, that does not mean that you can't sit next to an elder law attorney, express your wishes as far as care and protection both for you and your spouse or for your mother and your father, and not accomplish and come up with a goal. You can do that. You can assure you can get the quality of care that you need and deserve. Yes, you can avoid going broke. It requires some effort on your part, the least of which is to sit across the table free of charge and have a consultation with a highly trained, experienced elder law attorney, and to come up with some options for your aging period of life that are satisfactory as far as you are concerned, first based upon the quality of your care, And secondarily is to find funding and or alternatives to your own legacy being eaten alive or your spouse left as a pauper. In other words, going broke doing it. But it's not going to come automatically. It's not something that you can count on the system is going to do for you. The truth of the matter is the system is brutally expensive, and it will extract every last dime from a senior if it is allowed to do so. If the senior or the people charged with the duty of protecting that senior have not educated themselves or empowered themselves or their loved ones to act on their behalf when the time comes. But you should be realistic. The time will come. It's going to come one way, shape, form, or another. Now, what happens between when you turn 65 and when you've passed away can be a very, very expensive, shocking journey that really drains a family and ends up with you being a distinct and overwhelming burden, if you want to know
The cost
the
of
truth.
long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center, where for over 25 years we've been serving the needs of seniors and the people who love them. They're trying to protect them. You know, it is probably the height of the greatest frustration of practicing elder law is to be dealing with the issue of a family coming into the office in which absolutely nothing has been done by the senior to protect their own interests. They haven't done the paperwork, they haven't gotten a trust, or if they got a trust, they got one of these non-attorney places for a couple of bucks that's usually worth exactly how much they paid for it. They may have gotten a trust that is like 50, 20 years old, and they're sitting there, I hope, not treating their tires the same way they're treating their estate plan, because 15 years later, things have changed. They've changed mightily. They haven't educated themselves. They've tried to pretend these are not their issues. But there's an inevitability to all this, isn't there? There's an inevitability to how things are going to go. And my job, I guess, is to really confront the reality of how heartbreaking it is in some respects that about 85% of the time, the people coming into the office who are the clients aren't there. And by that, what I mean is that they didn't plan, they didn't take care of business, and now their children are sitting there in front of me saying, what do we do? And yet, when they do, focus groups, talking to seniors, what's important to them, they all say the same thing. I want to stay at home. Oh, well, I understand that. And that's what we dedicate ourselves to, for you to be able to stay at home as long as it's safe and you get quality of care. And then we're confronted with the issue also of 80% of Americans don't get to stay at home. they don't get to die in their home. 80% of Americans die in institutions. Institutions. You know, for Medicare patients, Medicare, your health insurance, of everything they're going to pay for you, and if you recall, you were qualified for Medicare at age 65. Now, all those years, all that medical attention and everything, the average is going to be that Medicare is going to pay for 80% of all the benefits you've received underneath that program during the last 12 months of your life. That's how expensive it is to keep a 90-year-old alive. 80%, stop and think about that for a minute. You turned 80, you turned 65, it's 20 years, 25 years later. And in that last year, you're going to be spending a huge amount of your benefit on you to do nothing more than keep you alive. And that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for 80% of the people, 8 out of 10 of you in your home. That's going to happen for you in an institution. That's a hard, cold fact of life. And the reason for it is because we never spend any time thinking about that. We never spend any time for a lot of different reasons. A lot of people don't like to talk about it. Some people are so afraid of the inevitability of frailty followed by death, they can't really articulate it. They can't accept that. And yet, you can accept that with as much, if not more, authority than I will assure you tomorrow the sun will rise in the east. Just like I can assure you there will come a day in which you will pass into another level of existence. We call that death. We have all sorts of euphemisms for it, but at the end of the day, what's the truth of the matter? For those of you that have not taken care of or addressed this issue, you're not going to have an outcome like you were hoping to have by ignoring the issue. That's why, for many years, we used to offer you free workshops that you could come in and sit quietly without being any kind of a feeling of stress or a sales pitch or anything like that, just to get the information. We gave you the information for free. Now, we still do that. We still have the exact same mantra of educating you, but now we have to do it differently. And so now we have a safe environment for you, a sterilized environment for you, that you can come in and bring in your old documents or whatever else you need, and we can discuss your issues and begin the process of giving you information. Some of you will become clients, some of you won't. That's okay. That's not the goal of having a consultation. With the advent of Zoom, it makes it even more advantageous for some families that their adult children can participate in that consultation. They enjoy the idea of being part and parcel of it because they are going to be the ones who are going to be responsible. So when seniors tell me I don't want to be in an institution, I want to stay in my home, I go along with that 100%, but we have to do something about it. Then they also tell me, I don't want to go broke. I don't want to go broke. I don't want to pay $10,000 a month. I can't pay $10,000 a month. Well, then you better start doing a little bit of planning. That's reasonable. If you don't want to go broke, if you don't want to strip your spouse of every asset that you two have worked so hard for, then you better do something about it. And universally, I hear this over and over again. I mean, I would say this is 95% of everybody that we deal with. Say, I don't want to be a burden on my children. Well, then what have you done to make sure you are not going to be a burden on your children? Have you taken even the most basic of steps to provide a situation in which your children are not going to be in a position to have their lives turned upside down because you drew the wrong card out of the deck, even though the odds of you pulling that card out were so high, it's pretty hard to believe it wasn't something that you could have avoided. If I know that 80% of people over the age of 65 are going to be institutionalized, if I happen to know that 70% of people over 65 are going to need some kind of long-term care, Listen, if I just have the good common sense of saying, look around, and whether I know that it costs $10,000 a month to be in a nursing home or I don't know that, I do know that if the time comes, I want to be prepared. I want to get decent quality care. I've heard all the rumors about how bad the care is, and I'm terrified of that. And I don't get to pick if what I have developed in the way of a need for being in a nursing home has struck, and I can't escape that reality. I need to understand that so I can protect myself and my family. And you can. So the process that you would go through is you would pick up the phone, you'd call 760-422-0404, 422-0404, and we can arrange for you to get an intake form, to fill out a questionnaire, resubmit it, and then we would be in a position to grant you a free consultation across the table or on a Zoom call with a bona fide elder law attorney. And now you can get in control of your situation. You can make some decisions. You can see what your options are, aging options that dictate the quality of your care and dictate how you're going to pay for it and who's going to take care of you. If you're a veteran, you need to know about your ability to access $27,000 a year tax-free to pay for your care. Where do you get that? How do you qualify for that? That program is unique through the Veterans Administration. It only applies to those veterans who happen to serve during a declared period of war. Now, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf, they all have different rules, different dates, and you need to know that. You need to find out first, am I even eligible? And why that's so important for you to find out, and you do need, and you have an obligation to find out, is because your spouse can get as much as $14,000, $15,000 a year tax-free for their care. That's right. It's a program that accrues a benefit for a spouse. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable how not that long ago the Secretary of the Veterans Affairs stated in a speech that this program, this pension program, is the least utilized program in the Veterans Administration panoply of benefits. Mostly because people don't know anything about the program. The day that you were getting discharged and clearing post, were you interested in talking about a program that impacted your ability as a senior to get care? I suspect not. I think your primary concern is sign the form, man. Come on, I got to get out of here. I got to catch a bus to the airport and get the hell out of here. That's what was going through your mind. I don't want to hear about something on that day that impacts me when I'm 80 years old. I can't even imagine that day, and I don't want to imagine that day. I want to go home. So sign it and let me out of here. That's what was happening that day. And so the reality of this stuff is that you need to be in charge of your own benefit, your own fate. You can combine personal, private pay and care and assets and resources with public ones that are available to you, public benefits that would pay as much as $10,000 a month to be in a nursing home and still be able to keep your home and still be able to keep your IRA or your 401k and still be able to keep money in the bank. You didn't know that. And still be assured that your family will never be subjected to a lien, that when you pass away, they won't slap a lien on that stuff, that your house is safe from a lien. But you have to do something in order to get those kinds of benefits. And the first thing you have to do is find out, am I eligible? The second thing you need to do is find out, how do I qualify for that benefit? And the third thing you need to do is that I need some help filling out this application so that I don't answer the wrong question the right way or the right question the wrong way. And this stuff is hard to read and figure out, and I don't know for sure if I'm doing this right. Well, you need somebody to help you with the application. 760-422-0404. This is too important. This is too important to you and your family not to take care of business. 760-422-0404.
The cost of long-term care for yourself or a loved one can be financially devastating, but you can avoid going broke. That's how the California Elder Law Center will help you. You can access long-term care benefits through the VA, Medi-Cal, and other sources. But the process of getting those benefits can be daunting. That's where attorney Mick McGuire and the California Elder Law Center come to the rescue. Whether facing a hospital stay, currently in a rehab facility, an assisted living facility, or nursing home, immediate help is available. So now's the time to schedule an appointment for a free consultation. Our office is safe and virus-free. Call 760-422-0404. That's 760-422-0404. You'll learn so much about how to resolve your elder issues. It goes beyond paying for long-term care. With the help of an attorney at the California Elder Law Center, you can avoid the expense and delays of probate. You can protect your home, your family, and your assets. The system is complicated and frankly not user-friendly. But when you work with an attorney specializing in elder law, it's all so much easier. Call 760-422-0404 for a free meeting in our safe, virus-free office. That's 760-422-0404. Online, search Cal Elder Law. That's Cal Elder Law, helping you get the care you need and deserve. The California Elder Law Center.
This is Michael McGuire, and you're listening to Elder Answers, the show where we get together every week, and yes, we discuss the major issues facing seniors in the United States. And yes, we spend a lot of time talking to you about how do you get the quality of care that you need and deserve and not go broke doing it. Sometimes it can be very, very complicated. Sometimes it's like a hot knife going through butter. It's all self-evident. Sometimes you've got a family support system that works great. Sometimes you need to have something extra in your life to provide for you, to protect you, to keep an eye on you. Sometimes the family members are located here in the Coachella Valley, and they're over to be able to stop in and take care of you and take a look at you and make sure you're okay every day. Sometimes there is no family, or sometimes the family lives 1,500 miles away, and it's impossible for them to just uproot their lives and be able to stay in touch and keep in control of your care, let alone the expenses of your care. And as if we didn't have enough to worry about, 2020, a year that will live in infamy, has visited upon us the nightmare of a pandemic, the absolute nightmare of a pandemic. And we have to do whatever is necessary to protect ourselves and our loved ones during this period of time. This is not an easy job. This is a classic national crisis that everybody has to grab an oar and row. This means that we all have to help each other. When we do certain behavior modifications, we are protecting ourselves and our loved ones, and now we have to recognize how critically important it is for us to be able to protect each other as well. We are suffering from the propensity of families to just overcome the isolation during the holidays, and it's visited upon us a really serious issue, as if it wasn't serious enough already, as if we didn't have enough stress and trauma in our lives over this past year. The insanity that was swirling around us every day. You have to sneak up on your television set and make sure you didn't hit the button that gives you the news. Who would want to listen to that? So the reality is that there's information out there that we have to be cognizant of and we have to take advantage of. And let me tell you something. This is not like everybody was on board and understood what the issues were from day one. It just didn't play out that way. And so now we are in a fight for our lives with the vaccine. And it's not the smoothest process that any of us have ever seen. And so there's dislocations, there's different tiers, they're changing the rules. They've got one level of and brand of vaccine, and they got another brand of vaccine, and it's back and forth, and it never ends. just when you think it's coming close to being over, it never ends. There's different tiers. The tiers are controlled by the different states. The different states pass out the rules to the different counties, and the counties are confronted with trying to create this massive bureaucracy on the fly. It's an unfair burden on them. There's no doubt about that. Nobody signed up for this. There was no training school for public employees to deal with a pandemic like this, let alone a pandemic that was mishandled or a pandemic that is spun out of control. And so we have to be somewhat resilient. We have to be flexible. We have to be able to support these people. You know, our county supervisor, in the case here in the Coachella Valley, Manny Perez, has got a staff of individuals that are focused on doing exactly that, trying the best they can to make sure you're going to get the information you need and get the vaccine you need. There's a gentleman by the name of Greg Rodriguez. He handles healthcare and general public policy affairs for the supervisor. He's a terrific young man, and he has passed on some information to me that I want to share with all of you. First of all, keep plodding along. Yes, they've changed the tiers. They went from no more than, they started off with everybody who's a public servant, who's a healthcare provider, people who are in institutions to age 75 on up. Now they're down to age 65 on up. And they're trying to do the best they can. And that means that we have to be, instead of harping at them and hollering at them, and we have to be consistent in our persistence so that the harder they work, the harder our supervisor works with the other supervisors in Riverside County, the more likely it is we'll all be taken care of. You need to go and write this down. This is a website. I will give it to you. We'll post something on our website. The website you need to go to get good quality information about this whole process is RU Health. RUHealth.org/COVID-19-vaccine. Did you get that? Now, if you're listening to me driving along, of course you didn't get that. But that's okay. That's okay. If you just look up COVID-19 Riverside County, you're gonna eventually land on ruhealth.org/COVID-19-vaccine. When I spoke to Mr. Rodriguez, he indicated to me that, you know, they're fighting on several different fronts for you. They're fighting on getting the vaccine. They're fighting out which kinds of vaccine they're going to get. They're going to get both. They're trying to develop as many different avenues of distribution as they can, as quickly as they can, as humanly possible to get this done. They're calling upon resources. There's a possibility you can get it inside of a supermarket. You can get it at the drugstore. You can get it at the Indio Fairgrounds. There's all sorts of locations will be spread all over this county. But you have a responsibility yourself to be patient and to keep educating yourself. And if you have a friend who doesn't do so good with websites, how about helping them out? Do you have a neighbor? Do you have a bridge partner? Do you have somebody you play golf with? Help them out. Get on the website. If you're handy at this, get on the website for them. Listen, not everybody in this country is a TikTok aficionado. Not everybody here goes on all these different websites, thank God. And so what really needs to be done here is we have to help each other. And the way we're going to do that is be educated. You need to go and look at the newspaper every day and get updates. Does this seem like a lot of work? Yeah, it is. Does this seem like life and death? Hello. And believe me, the supervisor and Mr. Rodriguez and all the other staff over there are doing everything they humanly can to pass on information as effectively can when they're trying to create a system and educate you to the system at the same time. That's a hard thing to do. So if you find out how it works for you, I'm going to say that you should be willing and able to share that information as quickly with as many different people, neighbors, friends, church members, synagogue members, mosque members, as quickly as you can. You should pass on this information. We can do more word of mouth helping each other than these public servants can inventing a system from scratch. It will get better. You will get access. You are going to be vaccinated. The supervisor is doing everything he can, and his dedicated staff is working as hard as they can in conjunction with the other supervisors here in Riverside County, that when they change the rules, the distribution, and the stuff's coming in, and where are we going to do it? Listen, just keep your pulse, keep information flowing. People you know, people you love. If you get information and you've got family that are living out here, let them know immediately. If you're not sure, if you're overwhelmed and you do have adult children and they live somewhere else, have them go to that ruhealth.org/COVID-19-vaccine. ruhealth.org/COVID-19-vaccine. We can do this among each other. We can help each other here. Just like if we were in some even more horrific set of circumstances, we would be helping each other. This is how we as a nation and as Americans cope with natural disasters. We don't casually walk over to help out in a disaster. We run to the disaster. There's just something about our sense of duty and our culture that says we're going to take care of business. We've always done that. If it was a hurricane, if it was an earthquake, if it was a fire, we take care of each other. And it's not forever, but we take care of each other that day, that night. We bring them into our homes. We feed them. We put a blanket around their shoulders. We lift stuff so they can get out of a building that's maybe going to fall down or did fall down. And we can do the same damn thing when it comes to helping each other with this pandemic. If you're frustrated and you can't get information, talk to your neighbor, talk to your kids and say, can you find out for me? Don't be afraid to ask, because the people in your life are good quality people and they want to help you. If you belong to a church and they have a ministry, if you belong to a synagogue and they have a ministry within their organization, or to a mosque, those people that are already members of that kind of an organization are there for each other anyway. Keep fighting, keep educating, keep helping each other. This is Michael McGuire with the California Elder Law Center saying thank you for joining us, and I'll talk to you again next week.
A child struggling to speak. It's often a developmental disability that can leave a child frustrated and isolated. Life-changing treatment by professional speech therapists is available at no cost to the family. It's at the Stan and Bobby Gold Right Care Childhood Language Center in Palm Desert. We need your donation. On your phone or computer, search Gold Right Care. That's Gold, R-I-T-E, Care. From the Palm Springs Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, give a child the gift of speech.